Hello! How do apps and extensions that integrate with the Wix platform allow developers and partners to build products that solve real customer needs and drive mutual growth? That's the question that will be at the heart of today's conversation. I'm Ran Levy, Wix developer advocate, and with me in the studio is Donna Dror. Hi, Donna. CEO of Usercentrics. So thank you for joining us today. Please introduce yourself and Usercentrics to our audience.
Absolutely. Hello. Thank you for having me. It's really exciting to be here.
My pleasure.
My name's Donna. I'm the CEO of Usercentrics. Usercentrics is the consent and privacy layer online. I think a really good example is that when you land on a website, you want to know what that website is collecting about you, and you want the ability to have a say in that collection. So that is the point in which we add value. So I like to think about it as the technological point between businesses and users at the start of the relationship, and we help to make sure that that relationship is built on trust and transparency.
So practically speaking, most of the users who interact with such privacy needs, etc., will probably interact with what's known as the cookie banner or the consent box. On the surface, such a box is basically what? A banner with two buttons, yes or no, something like that. But what is underneath the surface? It feels like something that an AI could do in a couple of seconds. But it's never that simple, isn't it?
Right. I actually really like that question. Can AI help you build what looks like a cookie banner very quickly? Absolutely. But that is actually the least important part of the consent experience. Behind that banner, there are three key elements. One is, before you even interact with that banner, there needs to be the technology that stops from certain tracking scripts from firing off automatically. And that needs to happen in a way that doesn't hurt the user experience.
Tracking scripts like what? Facebook Pixel, etc.?
That's a great example. Yeah. But it could really be anything, because if you think about it, a website, which again on the face of it looks very simple to build, behind it there's so much technology, there's so many APIs, there's so many different kind of key elements that build that website experience. There's a lot happening in the background that I think the average user maybe doesn't think about. So one of the first things that has to happen from a consent perspective is that before the user provides their consent preferences, you need to stop from these tracking scripts just firing off automatically. Ideally, it needs to happen in a way that doesn't hurt the user experience. Then they will provide their preferences, which allows you to let those tracking scripts go and do what they're meant to do. You then need to record those consent preferences. This is what regulators care about, and where a lot of the legal complexity lies. I would not recommend vibe coding anything in the world of legal or compliance. This is where there is a lot of scrutiny, there's a lot of complexity, there are a lot of fines. And
I think that GDPR is something that most of our audiences probably have heard of. It's a very complex piece of regulation, right? I don't think it's something that you want to do with an AI yourself.
I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say in general, nowadays you can build everything with AI. It doesn't mean that you should, because there's also a difference between building and maintaining and what security looks like. I think there's a lot of complexity, not just with the initial build, but what happens later with it. So on that second point, you need to store consent preferences in a certain way over time. It also differs by country, and the laws in these countries change all the time. So imagine having to stay on top of that and knowing that this is a legal matter, and legal matters, when you get them wrong, can be quite unforgiving. So that's kind of the second piece behind the banner. And then the third piece is, okay, now you've collected consent. How does it travel? Because it needs to travel to Google Ads or the Meta Pixel or your CRM. It needs to really speak to the rest of your marketing ecosystem. that also has a layer of legality and data privacy that comes into it, and it needs to be done in a certain way.
What do you mean by you're saying travel? I mean, does the consent that the user agreed to on a website apply to other sites as well?
It's not that it necessarily applies to other sites, but it's if I'm collecting consent about how users interact with my website, and then I need to send that information to Google Ads because I want to do something with it, retargeting, remarketing, something with it, there's a certain way in which that data needs to flow, for example, through something called consent mode, which is an enabler of the data transfer from point A to point B to the Google ecosystem. This is what I mean about complexities where a consent management platform can just give you that peace of mind, because it's just another element within it. Because again, if you think about what we discussed, we talked about a cookie banner and then the things behind it. We spoke about how scripts behave before the user interacted. Then the user interacted, now you need to store those preferences. You need to do that country by country, law by law. Then you want to send that data to different points of the marketing ecosystem. There's a mechanism that ties into that as well. There are data privacy laws that tie to that as well. These are the layers that sit behind the very simple cookie banner that need to be taken into consideration, and why we feel very proud to be a market leader within the consent and data privacy space.
So when a Wix user actually uses your application,
Yep.
they're getting what? A full compliant solution, or is there something specific that they're getting out of the full gamut of regulations? What do exactly the users get from the application?
The users will get what they make of it. Similar to a lot of like B2B SaaS companies, you get the value that you get out of it. I will say we do like to say that we give peace of mind and we remove complexity, which I think is really important. For example, we have a scanner that will scan your website and let you know what tracking technologies are in place. It will help you categorize them. It will be compatible with things like consent mode that I mentioned. It will help adjust the banner to different geographies. If you've got a user coming in from Berlin or California, those should be different experiences. Both should be delightful, but both should be different experiences when it comes to the regulation that sits behind it. So a lot of that flow is automated and suggested from us and done in a way that really just helps make life easier, similar to just how Wix enables companies to do things in a simpler way. We're the consent layer on top of that.
Yeah, it really sounds like some peace of mind for the website owner. On what Wix solutions or products will we find Usercentrics app?
I mean, I could rattle off the list, but I'm actually really proud of the fact that I could say all of them. One of the best things of being an integrated embedded partner in Wix is that you're embedded in a broad ecosystem where every product is tailored to slightly different audience and a slightly different need. But we as the partner don't have to spend too much time calculating exactly how that works, because Wix does a really good job of surfacing the solution to the pain point, whether it's a headless solution or a classic solution or one of the AI-powered solutions. Wix will push the relevant solutions, one of them being us, but there are so many others that Wix enables as well. And I really think that contributes to a delightful user experience, because if I'm a business trying to build and manage a website, I don't want to have to figure out every piece of the puzzle in it. I kind of want the platform and the platform's ecosystem to do it for me. So all of this to say, you can find us everywhere, and Wix will surface it when the need is there.
Wix will bring the solution to you instead of you looking for the solution.
Yeah.
So that's already one benefit for Usercentrics from the integration with Wix. What other, as a partner who is working with Wix, what other benefits are there for Usercentrics to work in the Wix ecosystem?
I think the first one and the obvious one is distribution. Wix is a massive company, been around for a really long time, has got millions of customers, publicly traded company, really well-known brand. Like, distribution is really important. And the topic of distribution seems to be one that is discussed more in the world of AI. It's kind of a moat and an advantage. And I really appreciate why that is. So I'd say the first piece is distribution. I'd say there's an element of trust. I think being associated with a company and a brand that has done such a good job of positioning themselves as a trusted partner to millions of businesses is really important. So you get the benefit of doing that. And I'd say the last piece is what partnership means. I have, in my years working in technology, seen a lot of marketplaces, and they're as good as the exposure. Just having an app in a marketplace is a nice box to tick, but it doesn't really get you anything if you're not getting in front of the right users.
It could be just one out of thousands or tens of thousands of applications that get lost.
And those marketplaces exist. I actually don't always know why, but they exist, where you can just scroll lots and lots of apps, but then they never get exposure to the right users and businesses. And this is similar to my previous answer. This is what Wix does a really good job of, because they're obsessed with the user experience. They really want to understand what the pain point is at every part of the funnel, every part of the experience, and then they suggest solutions. So as long as you're the expert in what you do, Wix will surface you at the pain point that you help resolve. And that, for me, is the biggest benefit of working with them.
Fantastic. And now to the opposite angle, what does the Wix ecosystem benefit from an app like Usercentrics? What's the benefit that a third-party app or partner brings to that ecosystem?
Yeah, I would say that the concept of expertise is really important. It's a theme that I see coming up, especially more now in the world of AI. I think there's a real advantage of going deep versus going wide. And I think for a company like Wix to have the humility to say, we are the best at building and managing websites, but we're not the best at absolutely every single thing outside of it that somehow connects to websites, that is a wonderful thing. So I'd say what Wix benefits from is having companies come in with their expertise. We're experts in consent management. This is a legal topic, a compliant one, a complex one.
That's real domain knowledge that you have to have in that specific domain.
Yeah. And I think it behooves a company like Wix to say, we're not going to do that. We're going to bring in the expert at it so that the Wix user gets the best experience, but it doesn't all have to be from Wix. It can be from the ecosystem. So how does Wix benefit? By giving the companies and the users everything that they need, sometimes directly from them and sometimes from their partners, and making sure that those partners are experts in whatever it is that they do.
Okay, and again, from the Usercentrics point of view, how does an ecosystem allow a partner to build an app in a way that's scalable, that's easy to build? The actual experience of creating an app. You said yourself that you already had experience with several markets, app markets.
Right.
How do they differ in the way that they allow a developer or a partner to create on the platform?
Yeah, I think the differentiation is just the hands-on approach. I've seen marketplaces where they kind of give you a developer kit and wish you well. That's not the Wix style, at least from what I've seen. They can be quite hands-on. They really want to understand how to optimize the user experience on Wix through the Wix marketplace, but also really understanding what it is that your technology does. Mm-hmm. And then when they do think about embedding that into the workflows, really working in tandem with you and going deep into the technology. So I'd say there's something about the fact that Wix can be, I don't want to say selective, but maybe thoughtful about the partners and the developers that they work with. And then they're not afraid to invest the effort that is needed to make those developers successful.
Yeah, and I think that nowadays, specifically working with AI agents,
right,
the platform needs to know not only how to work with human developers and present that information and help them support them in any way, but you also have to support the agents, which is another layer of complexity, let's say. We have Wix Headless that we launched, I think 4 years ago, even way back before AI Agent, that kind of gives a solution also to that kind of a problem.
I love that. And I also love the fact that 4 years ago feels like a lifetime ago.
In AI,
in the world of technology. 4 years ago sounds crazy.
You know what? That's an interesting point to make just before we run out of time. The basic model of the consent box is that a human user is the one choosing which option to make. That's not, it seems as if the web is going to the direction of more and more agentic workflows. So how do you deal with that? Does an agent have the ability to consent or not consent to something?
Well, the laws were written before this was very much part of the equation. We do have solutions that allow companies to understand whether or not they're dealing with human traffic or AI traffic and how to adjust accordingly. But I think the really interesting piece is that anyone working in technology now has to evolve with the technology, and technology has never been this fast moving. I mean, I was here for the move in from software to SaaS, right? From perpetual to recurring revenue, the move to the cloud. Without aging myself, I remember what it's like not having internet. But even through all of these technological revolutions, nothing has moved at this pace. And I will say the Wix headless solution is a great example of how to move quickly with the times without harming the user experience throughout it. Because I have tried it and it is very good.
Yeah, it's a fun experience to create with Wix Headless. That's fun.
Yeah.
I wonder if in the future we'll have agents that will just give them a sort of a preference as, I usually consent to this and that, and have the agent decide for us when we need more privacy or less privacy. I wonder if we'll give that sort of freedom to an AI agent at some point. Not now, I think it's too early, but
I mean, it is really interesting to see as more of our life moves online and agents become such an embedded part of how we do everything. I do grocery shopping through an AI agent. You know what I mean? Like my whole life has changed.
What does privacy mean for an agent? Do agents need privacy? Are they supposed to have privacy at all?
Or can they hold the privacy guardrails that you want? Can they do a good job representing you? That is the question that Usercentrics is very excited to answer as we start thinking about the consent and privacy layer, or what we sometimes also call privacy-led marketing. All of these areas, how they tie into the intersection of AI is something that we're very, very excited to explore.
Yeah, I think you have a pretty interesting few years ahead of you as a CEO of Usercentrics. Okay, so a final question. What would you say to developers who are considering whether to build an app or extension on Wix? Any tips or advice?
First of all, I would say do it. It's been a great experience for us. It's really helped with reach, with growth, market positioning. Like, we've honestly had a great experience. So my first piece of advice is go for it. My second piece is figure out what you're good at and be the best at it. And this was also the previous point of going deep versus going wide. If you really are an expert in whatever solution it is that you're bringing to the Wix ecosystem, you can really find the pain point that you solve and the value point in which you enhance. And because of the developer experience with Wix, you will be surfaced at the point where you're needed, and therefore you'll have good conversion. Because you're not just here to build an app for the sake of the app, you're here to build an app that can really help all the things you're trying to achieve as a business. So I would say, understand what you're good at, become the expert at it, and figure out at what point of the flow when it comes to website building and website managing you truly add value, and position yourself
Make
there.
sure that you're there.
And don't try to do everything. Don't try to do everything. Like, I really think that one of the best things, because we're speaking a lot about website building, and there's this question of, well, why would I need a solution like Wix to build a website? And theoretically, you could vibe code it, sure. But why would you want to own distribution, and hosting and market positioning and trust and maintenance and security and innovation. Why would you want to own all of those things? Because if you own all of those things, that is time spent away from whatever technology that you're building. Go take all that time and resources and do what it is that you should be doing. I'm focused on consent. I'm not focused on anything that Wix is doing because I can use Wix for all of those things. So I'd say that in general, whether it's for the Wix developer community or truly just in general, find the thing that you're good at and focus on that. Don't try to do everything because you'll end up doing a lot of small things badly instead of one thing really well.
That sounds like an excellent advice. Donna Dror, CEO of Usercentrics, thank you very much.
Thank you.